Good up.
This is channel 253. Beep, boop, boop, beep.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
Fat Tire was another one of my go-to beers at the time. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I remember very specifically waiting for it to turn 6 a.m. after partying all night, because at 6 a.m. you could buy booze again at the local store. So I was at the Safeway and watching the clock click down, and brought my 6-pack of Fat Tire up to the counter and sold to me at 6:02, and I kept that receipt for a while because I thought it was cool. Nowadays, not so much though, because drinking till 6 in the morning and then continuing to drink, not something I like to do anymore. Yeah.
Did you know Channel 253 is member supported? I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you from the Parkway Tavern in the North Slope Historic District of Tacoma, Washington. Woo! I'm Ron Swarner, taking over MC duties from Matt McLaren, who is with his family. Always to my left is Parkway manager Sean Jackson. I see you posted the tap list for the anniversary party on Saturday.
Most of it, yes.
Did I see a 2016 Crux Freak cake down on that list?
Cake will be served, for it is
Nice.
a party. Yeah.
What are you most excited about serving?
Oh, man. So this would have been awesome if Matt was here, but we're going to let it slide.
Okay.
What am I most excited about being serving? Lovely people.
Okay. Aw.
Yeah. But also kind of that free cake. That's pretty high on the boner docket.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Stokes for today's special guest. He was raised in California. He homebrewed while earning a political economics degree at the Evergreen State College. He poured beer at notable Olympia craft brew houses, Skep and Skein, and the Gravity Beer Market. He knows a thing or two because he's brewed a thing or two, such as Keep It Like Vic's Secret, what a Flocc. Woohoo! Aroma of Tacoma, The Fair is Canceled, and My Carmaple Romance. He's watched hundreds of soccer games on a big screen. He's seen his fair share of face painters and fire dancers. He was the founding assistant brewer at Three Magnets, which he eventually became head brewer. He's currently the head brewer at Sig Brewing. Sean, tell everyone who our episode 56 guest is.
The Jeff Stokes.
Whoa! Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jeff. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
So we're a deck of cards now. Sorry. That's our episode number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
The
Jokes will get better. My bad. Ease into this.
The beers that we have here, part of my agreeing to be able to be on this show today was that there would be barley wine served. So there is Old Schoolhouse barley wine, Brewers Reserve from 2020.
It's 20 or 20. I think it might have been 21.
Okay.
But yeah,
so
first rider on the show, so that was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, you guys some clown, like the
And
fuck
since-
I am doing this if
And you can't just wet your whistle on barley wine all night, so I've got a pint of Sig Light as well, an American light lager that, super easy drinking. So yeah, just trying to balance it out.
I think that's what Sean and I are drinking, too.
yes.
Yeah, it's so delightful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Jeff, where were you raised in California?
Bay Area, outside of San Jose, in a town called Saratoga.
Oh, what brought you to Washington?
College. I wanted to get out of the rat race of the Bay Area and wanted to get out of the state in general, and went to college originally in Walla Walla, Washington, to Whitman College. About as far away as I could get from the Bay Area at the time, it felt like.
Yeah. Were you homebrewing over there, or did you wait until you got to Olympia?
I worked in wineries in Walla Walla after I turned 21. Helped build Cave Vintners with Charles Smith, and he ended up becoming big time with his house wine and other labels, and also worked at Waterbrook Winery for a brief period.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But didn't get into beer and brewing until I was attending Evergreen State College in Olympia. Yeah.
Did you have a name for your brewery?
Stoked Brewing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Came easy.
Yeah, easy. I saw that you, back in the day, you brewed a beet beer.
Yes. Actually, my very first ever commercial beer brewed out at Grove Street Brewery in Shelton was a homebrew recipe that I took them, and they allowed me to brew it up there and had it released called Just Beat It. It was, as you can imagine, very polarizing because beets are not everybody's favorite, but it was a beautiful purple beer, had antioxidants, and felt like you were balancing out your bad deeds by drinking good stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Were you at Gravity during school, or was that after?
After, I believe. Timelines. Okay. Yeah, I think I had already graduated when I was at Gravity.
Technically, that's when we first met, but we didn't know it.
Yeah.
I went there many times because I was covering the scene in Olympia.
Yeah.
And I always take home a growler.
Oh, yeah. We had a little growler filling station, no pints for there, but we let people sample away and then fill up their growlers to go, and a bunch of warm stored beer sitting in the middle of the room, too. And great shop, though. Jeff and Roma, I learned a lot from them. Yeah. So I really enjoyed working there.
What happened with Gravity? Why did it disappear?
To the best of my understanding, when Jeff and Roma sold to one of their employees, Scott, he took over and had still good following, but he ended up having some health issues and had to kind of limit his hours and also spend more money on his taking care of his health and restocking the shelves. So unfortunately, the shelves went bare, and it just was too hard for him to keep going. And I don't know what ended up finally causing it to close, but I'd imagine something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original owners have the same last name as Aubrey, right?
Aubrey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they
Bert?
related?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, the Berts. Yeah.
So Evergreen time, right? Yeah.
A lot of underwater basket weaving. Yeah. Ron was very kind to say that I had a major in political economics, but really it was just an emphasis, which is evergreen for you. You don't really major in anything.
Yeah.
You just have to get enough credits, and then you can tell your future employer what you want to tell them as far as what your major was. And that's, kind of what I do. So political economics sounds impressive, so that's the one I always talk about.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The concept of that school when I got up here was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I didn't attend, but I did a lot of mushrooms there. And I remember just like asking people, so what are you studying? And, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this is the greatest. And I had a kiddo that was interested in it, and I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. You see a little bit too sober for this, but that's fine, Yeah.
There's a lot of great forests and woods and beaches right around the campus.
Yes,
to
there
walk
is.
through and shroom or smoke weed or anything else that you want to do.
Yeah.
Including a nude beach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is indeed a nude beach. Never partook in that, but it's walked through it once or twice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just browsing.
Yeah.
In my experience, those are just traps anyhow. It's not. I remember being young and, finding some beaches in California and thinking that, it is not all it's cracked up to be.
A little low-hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cracked up to be.
There we go.
Like I thought there was just supposed to be one. Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
How long were you at Skep?
Almost 2 years before I was too busy with Three Mags trying to get off the ground that I had to leave.
Okay.
I was pulling 3 shifts a week there and just couldn't do it when I was already putting in 50, 60 hours a week at Three Mag trying to get the place running.
How much mead did you drink?
Mead was never really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I helped make a few batches of mead, but so I would try the weekly new meads that came out every week. Usually it would have a 5 ounce if that, but mead's all right. Yeah, not my thing.
But he went on to start Axis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Axis Mead is the spin-off from Skep and Skein, if you will.
Yeah. And so how'd you meet Nate and Sarah?
Oh, goodness. I think I met them at a music festival originally, and then when I heard that they were looking... Oh, no, I met them at Gravity Beer Market. What the hell am I talking about? Yeah, they would be regulars. They'd fill up their growlers, buy a bunch of beer to go. heard them talking about trying to get a brewery started. And, I eventually kind of stuck my hand up and said, hey, if you're ever looking for somebody to help out doing whatever, please consider me. And started bringing them my homebrew, and they were kind enough to drink it, and ended up giving me an interview along with Pat. And I think they interviewed 3 people total. One person with a lot of experience, and then Pat and myself, who were both homebrewers with 0 commercial experience. And they ended up doing the foolish thing and hiring the 2 homebrewers. But it was contingent on each of us agreeing with each other. We had to both accept, or they were going to hire the other person, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yep. So Pat and I had a few back channel conversations saying, hey, we're interested, but, Nate and Sarah are willing to hire us as a duo in a way, because we both lacked experience, but they figured that whatever experience that we lacked, we could, overlap with each other.
Right.
And help each other out.
That seemed to work out with all the awards, Great American, Washington Brewers, tons of them.
Yeah, we did pretty well with the awards. That was definitely something that Pat and the owners of Three Magnets, Nate and Sarah, were into submitting for competitions. I may notice that Sig has no awards to boast about because I am not huge into the award competition ring. So yeah, I have yet to submit a single beer since leaving. But maybe one day down the road when I find another barley wine that I'm proud enough to.
Yeah.
Oh, I like where your priorities are at.
Oh, yeah.
So the Three Mags barley wine was your baby?
It was, yep. I think the batch that ended up winning took a bronze in barley wine at GABF. I believe Pat was the brewer on that one, but it was my old homebrew recipe that kind of helped get me the job there. When we did our interviews, it was one of the 5 beers that I brought, and the advisor that Nate and Sarah had hired said that beer could win awards, and it really helped get my foot in the door there. So, yeah.
There was advisors sitting in on the interview?
We had a consultant hired in order to help get the place running, because Nate and Sarah also were very inexperienced. Nate was a graphic designer, worked for the city, and Sarah ran Darby's Cafe in Olympia. So they
do you know who
had
this consultant is? Like
Mark Martin was his name. Yeah, he just worked for his own company called Northwest Brewery Consultants, I believe. He's based out of Vancouver. So yeah. Yep.
Interesting. And you brewed what I think was the first time I tasted a smoothie beer was Big Tom's, or that was the Milkshake IPA.
That was Milkshake. Yep, Milkshake IPAs.
What was the smoothie sour you guys made, or did you?
I'm not sure we jumped the full ship at Three Magnets.
Okay.
I don't think the owners were willing to do that. And for that matter, I jumped the ship unwillingly to an extent. I was kind of nudged that direction by our sales director at Sig Brewing, Dante Hernandez, who really was trying to push for those styles of beer soon after I joined on. So yeah.
Well, that's working out though.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well. Yeah, we're making a lot and selling a lot of them, and but I don't drink them. But yeah, I'll continue to make them. But
No, I like where your priorities are. You know, it'd be sad to be someone like, I make a lot of barley wine, but I don't drink the stuff.
oh yeah, that would be
Like
a fool's errand right there.
That is fucking horrible.
Yeah. No, barley wine is a passion project. You have to really love it in order to put the time and effort into brewing one, because it's not an easy brew day.
Nope.
Yeah.
You're not being home for dinner on that one.
No.
It's not happening.
But those big Tom Milkshake IPAs, they were one of the first, right?
One of the first in Washington that I know of. Yeah. Kind of got the inspiration from some breweries on the East Coast. I think, that were doing similar styles, throwing lactose and other sacrilegious things into beers. And they were pretty tasty, but I'm minorly lactose intolerant. So like I said, I'll brew them, but I will take a sip and then hand them off to people that enjoy them a little more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were patterned after the Big Tom's milkshakes?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we never did a Big Tom's Burger beer because that might be gross, but the milkshakes, they are fantastic.
I think it sounds like a Randall maybe at some point. Just the condiments, not the... Obviously, not the meat, because, vegan, and you go Impossible Patty. What? There's nothing bad in those things.
You already have your milkshake.
They're
stuff
so
in there.
natural and good for you. Yeah. Sorry. read the ingredients the other day. I was like, oh, Jesus God.
So I guess we're the Randall next week.
Yeah.
What are some of the favorite beers you brewed at Three Mags?
The goodness gracious, what was it called? The Howard's Blend, which was a barrel-aged imperial stout that was a nice joint project with Pat and myself because it was a blend of two different beers. The oatmeal stout was my beer. The Russian imperial stout was his, aged in tandem in bourbon barrels. So that was one of my favorites. The Old Skook is always one of my favorites, the barley wine.
Yeah.
And then some of the collaborations that we did were just some of my more memorable ones. We did a purple carrot imperial double IPA with Fort George that was called Operation Phase Purple. Turned out a vibrant purple. We had some purple carrot puree that went into it, and it really was delicious and beautiful. And then Skookum Puffs with my buddy Hollis at Skookum Brewing. That was another fun one that I probably learned more from Hollis about brewing all sorts of styles of beers in the few times that I brewed with them than I have from really anybody else. Yeah.
How about the Toffee Tompkins?
Oh, yep. That was the oatmeal imperial stout that was part of the component of the Howard's blend, but not barrel aged and hit with Olympia Coffee Roasters coffee. And that was a nice 10%, get you drunk, but open your eyes up because the coffee was prominent, but not overpowering. One of the few coffee beers that I've had that still tasted good a year later because coffee tends to shift towards the bell peppery note. And can't say I did anything different or unique, but maybe it's just the Olympia Coffee Roasters coffee that held true for a year. So, yeah.
I just got a lot of barrels really fast, and that was cool.
Yeah.
That was a badass place.
Yeah, we pumped out a lot of beer there.
I remember we'd stopped up for one of our holiday parties, and a beautiful side room housing the barrels, and it was like, I got so fucking nervous. Like, it was early on in the stop, but just the concept of having these, working projects here, and just people were allowed to just be around them. Like, there's a nail there.
It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, like I would have so much anxiety.
Yeah, there's only so many ways you can tell people don't touch these
Don't
things.
touch the
but
yeah.
but you probably never even saw our next door that we had. Part of the old Carnegie Library that was across the alley.
No.
Housed about another 250, 300 barrels. Mostly mixed culture sour projects over there. Yep. That place was a fucking train wreck, though, because it was all carpeted, no floor drains, and we did not have a forklift. So we'd be hauling barrels back and forth, be racking beer out of these barrels while they're stacked 3 high.
Yeah.
The bottom ones were never fun because you can barely fit yourself in there. The middle ones were the worst because you had to be on a ladder, but you're still wedged underneath another barrel. But, I think it was finally the time that we bought a forklift was after I dropped a barrel while moving them, which we can save that as a fuck-up story later on or move right into that. So had a 400-plus pound barrel of beer drop on the floor and gush open, and there's no good way to clean it up when you don't have floor drains in that area.
No.
Yeah. So thank goodness nobody got hurt because it could have easily been crushed. But so we got a forklift soon thereafter, be able to unstack barrels because that turned to be critical and expensive.
Yeah. Sounds like one of those old school brewery stories, like barrel house explodes, 40 people die. Oh man. Yeah, that's terrifying. That's so much beer.
Yeah.
So much carpet.
Not fun. Yeah.
No.
To clean up or to just watch your passion project. It was a rum barrel aged imperial red rye. That was, we only had 3 barrels of it total, but we ended up having 2.
So different meaning to the term carpet liquor.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotta get all the good stuff out.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Man.
And that brew house there, was pretty tight.
There were plenty of pinch points. I think I had more bruises there around my hips from having to slide in between tanks. It was narrow fittings in there. I'm not a giant guy. I'm tall, but I'm not. Yeah, you couldn't be a hefty brewer, let's just say, in order to work in that brew house.
No. Do you like soccer?
I do.
Yeah, because you were forced to watch it there.
I ended up growing a much bigger appreciation and fondness for soccer while working there. I liked it, but didn't understand it or follow it that well. But yeah, ended up really enjoying it and follow several teams now.
Yeah.
So
That place was always packed for those games.
yeah, I'd imagine the Women's World Cup is doing them well right now as well.
I bet.
Yeah.
Huh.
Origin beers. All right, so you start with wine. When I was young too, there was I worked at a lot of Italian restaurants. My wine knowledge used to be pretty fantastic. So how's the transition work? Like, what were beers of influence?
Well, I remember when I could find it, the local Safeway in Walla Walla, any of the Burt Grant's beers, especially their Scotch Ale Scottish. I can't remember if it was Scotch or Scottish. That was one of my go-tos. It was just this malty, thick, boozy elixir that was just, it was what I wanted to drink.
Yep.
After I turned 21, that was my go-to beer for a little while. We also had a pretty mediocre little brew pub right off campus as well that I used to go to, Mill Creek Brew Pub in Walla Walla. And I liked their Hefeweizen. It was a proper Bavarian Hefeweizen. Most of their beers were oxidized and not very good. I didn't know what oxidized was at the time. But the Hefeweizen and Burt Grant's, took me a while to get into hops. So I liked the other more nuanced malty styles at the time.
Yeah, there's the getting into hops thing is, I feel like especially that, that time frame, like there was people putting it out there, but we kind of brought it up the other day. Like, we hadn't really talked about Alaskan Amber and its importance. Like, we talk about Mac and Jacks a lot. Yeah. Fat Tire. At least on the West Coast, it seemed like the Mendocino, like the Red Tail, was a big deal. But up here, like Burt Grant's too, the freaking Scottish has money.
Fat Tire was another one of my go-to beers at the time. Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember very specifically waiting for it to turn 6 a.m. after partying all night. Because at 6 a.m. you could buy booze again at the local store. So I was at the Safeway and watching the clock click down and, brought my 6-pack of Fat Tire up to the counter and sold it to me at 6:02. And I kept that receipt for a while because I thought it was cool. Nowadays, not so much, though, because drinking until 6 in the morning and then continuing to drink, not something I like to do anymore. Yeah.
But I just don't have the time to do it anymore. I think I still like it. I just don't like... I like kind of like dropping acid. It's like, well, I don't really have a day and a half to recover, but God, I love this stuff.
I like the idea.
Clean, of course. Yeah. Like, we don't need to keep your strychnine in your pants.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really good. Freaking dead guy too.
All right. Producer Doug Mackey on the ones and twos just threw a wad of paper at my head, so it must be commercial break time. We'll be right back.
Hello. This is Eric Hanberg of Channel 253 here with sound producer Doug.
Hi.
We are here to tell you about membership to Channel 253, and we're talking really fast because we know you want to get back to the podcast.
That's exactly right. You get to be on the members Slack channel, which is really banging, and you get to listen to the members-only podcast Off the Record, hosted by me.
That's right. It's just $4 a month or $40 a year. Channel253.com/membership. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll consider joining. Please check it out.
Welcome back, everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to Channel 253, our sugar daddy. Channel 253 has assembled a pod of podcasts about Tacoma. If you're into politics, news, culture, food, sports, or sparging with a colander, Channel 253 is for you. Also, check them out at channel253.com. Jeff, we have some new audience members in the house. Can you please introduce them?
Not in any particular order of significance, but I'm going to keep the best for last. We've got the owners of Sig just showed up. Duncan, Alex, and John are all here. And then, most importantly, are my in-laws, mother-in-law and father-in-law, Mary and Hero. Mary has been running the Narrows Brewing Tap Room for the better part of a decade. And Hero is an unofficial VIP because he does everything and anything that Narrows could possibly ask of him. Yeah, doesn't officially work there, but definitely works there. Yeah.
If the Sig folks could put their hands over the ears, was Narrows Brewing ever an option to brew?
I don't know, Mary, was it? I was never offered a job there. Let's just say.
I would love it, but fearful of putting all of our cookies in
You're right.
the bag would be terrifying.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes working with family can be challenging. Yep. It's probably better off that I never did brew there, because I hear some stories between front of house and back of house at times from various breweries, and I know it can be contentious.
Plus Matt Rhodes was there. And
Yes, he was there at
Yeah.
the time. Matt was slaying it. He definitely was putting Narrows back on the map. Yeah.
for sure. And so how did Sig come about?
Well, the three owners, Duncan, John, and Al, they are two brothers and a cousin, John being the cousin, and they have an affinity for beer. All of them originally from North Dakota, but they moved to Washington at various times in their teens and in their 20s, I believe. And yeah, they just had a desire and a passion project to try and turn Duncan's concrete shop into a brewery, which would have probably been the first and maybe only concrete/brewery shop in the country. But instead, they decided to move Duncan's concrete shop to a new location, because the location that he did have, where Sig is currently located, happened to be part of the brewery blocks, where you're allowed to build new breweries in Tacoma. And they decided to turn it into a full-scale brew pub. And when I found out that they were hiring, and I had already been living in Tacoma with my now wife, and commuting down to Olympia, and I was kind of tired of the commute. So
man.
decided to start seeking options more locally. I reached out to Shane at E9. They didn't have anything at the time because they were still at the little location over on Pine Street. So then when I heard of something going on in a new project, and I threw my hat in the ring and got an interview, and it's been nonstop since then.
You were brewing
Thank
before you were
God.
open.
Yeah, we started brewing in January of 2020. Sold our first beers to accounts right around Valentine's Day of 2020. And then, as we all know, about a month later, the world kind of shut down, came to a screeching halt. So yeah, we had to kind of put our huge plans on pause for a little bit while we figured out what to do as we navigated the muddied waters of the COVID pandemic. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So started off great. We were like honky-dory. The world was our oyster. Everything was fantastic for all of 2 months. And then we had to figure it out for the next 2.5 years or whatever it was that, 2-ish years.
And I think if Matt was here, he would point out once again, like, how well Tacoma weathered the storm in a lot of the breweries compared to a lot of the regions around our state and the whole country.
Yeah.
Like, there was some people hustling.
Yeah,
And
we pivoted and started doing mason jars, door side, curbside service.
the curbside is
that
was a big one.
Yep, we ordered a crowler machine almost immediately when everything shut down, knowing that was going to be one of our main avenues to get beer out. Took about a month or two for it to get there, but in the meantime, we're doing mason jars, and that was kind of our signature. And it was a fun project. We were buying every mason jar from every single Target, every single Home Goods, every single place that we could possibly go to in town. Occasionally, I find other breweries as well in there buying all the mason jars, and you don't have to fight over them. But yeah, so
That was a real fight. Like,
yeah.
Because with enough time too, everyone wanted to make jelly and start making pickles, and I remember Lisa had done a tremendous amount of canning before, and took a little break, and it was kind of that like, oh, maybe I should do this again, and was looking for some new jars, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, good luck. The great
Talk
jar
about
shortage.
supply and demand.
So, Stoked for Days with Rainy Days. Was that when you were at Three Mags or at
Nope,
at
that
Sig?
was definitely not with Three Mags because
Of the thing.
yeah, Three Mags and Rainy Days had a little tiff going on for many years that I always felt was unnecessary. I always thought Mike to be a friend of mine and somebody that I looked up to and wanted to interact with. So at beer festivals, whereas the owners of Three Magnets would have nothing to do with him. The story goes that we had a beer called Rainy Day IPA, named for Rainy Day Records, which was about a block away from where Three Magnets was at. And a a few months into us brewing that, we got a not so nice letter from a lawyer, I believe. It might have been just from one of the mics, because at the time there were 2 mics at Rainy Days. But yeah, asking us not to use that name. We explained to them that it was named after a record shop nearby, but they were worried about market confusion, which I can understand to an extent. So yeah, we ended up just rebranding that beer called Rain IPA in order to appease Rainy Days. But yeah,
And then you hugged it out over this beer.
Mike and I did. Yeah. Yep. I'm guessing it ruffled a few feathers if there were any feathers still to be ruffled back in Olympia. But yeah. I always thought that rivalries like that were not worth dealing with. You may as well just enjoy a beer and do a collaboration about it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Unless you're Dogfish Head, because that guy can. No. we got a cease and desist for our 10-minute pale ale, from supposedly signed directly from Sam Calione. It could have been a secretary or whatever, but yeah. So we had a 10-minute pale ale because it was the perfect beer to drink on your 10-minute break. It was a 3.5% pale ale, something that you could crush, all day, every day. But yeah, we got a letter because it had the word minute in it. Yeah. So,
and you hopped it continuously for 10 minutes.
Oh, we sure did. That was hard, yeah. But kudos to Pat for going off. And when he started Matchless, he ended up doing his, 10 minutes would be 600 seconds. He did his 600-second pale ale and got away with it. And then he did a few other ones that also incorporated, 60 minutes worth of seconds into it. And never got cease and desist for those, but that was kind of his little middle finger to that whole conversation.
Is that letter framed somewhere?
I don't know, but it should be.
Yeah, that would be like if I had a copy of, our Constitution. Yeah. You would walk into my house, everything's all shitty and more people, but right above the mantle, all the lights, $10,000 lights, freaking mood music, everything would be focused on that letter because that would be just so awesome.
Couple chairs in front of it.
Oh yeah.
Sit there.
Yeah. Oh, that's badass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it more now, the whole, if they let you slide on minutes, right, then anyone can start just using minutes and get closer and closer. And
yeah, I think Stone kind of showed us what backing up your intellectual property was, and they sued the heck out of everybody for a while that had anything to do with the word Stone in their name. And little guys, big guys, and they ended up winning against the big guys, which was kind of cool. But I feel bad for the little guys at the same time that had to get thrown in the mud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. I remember some of the smaller ones, but yeah, you're right. That was God, it would have been awesome to have been the intern searching that list of targets. I want you to find every brewery and beer with the word. It's only 27 fucking thousand.
Yeah.
You brew a lot with terps.
I used to.
You're not anymore?
No, I'm not as big of a fan as I thought I would be.
Okay.
I've yet to find a terpene that is true to the character that they say they're supposed to be. So yeah, I still have some over 3-year-old terpenes sitting in the cooler at Sig. Maybe not 3 years old, over 2 years old terpenes sitting there that may or may not ever get used because they always seem to leave a interesting back flavor in the beer. I don't know, just not the way that I thought they would be. There's certain ones that tell you the King Louis strain or whatever is supposed to taste like this amazing weed. And then I dose a little glass of it and I'm like, that doesn't taste like weed at all. That tastes like garbage. And, not something that I want to have to guzzle down 7 barrels of it onto the world.
Right.
So stopped brewing with terps a little while ago. But I thought it was going to be the next fad, and it's not for me.
What do you think the next fad is?
Oh, golly. Back to clean beer?
Let's hope.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy a hazy here and there, but at the same time, I hope that it's going to be English milds and rustic pilsners that are still clean. Bizarre Brewing and Machine House are two of my absolute favorite breweries right now. for doing styles that are sessionable, approachable, and just full of flavor while, for the most part, staying in the 5% and under range. So those are the beers that I want to drink, except for barley wine. Give me all the 13% barley wine, yeah.
We were talking about it came up as a, jovially like the milkshake barley wine concept. And
I see a collaboration in our future.
really?
No.
And it was like certainly somebody's done it. Certainly. I just haven't heard of it, and man, I don't know. Like,
Too bad Matt's not here this week because he enjoys those slushy beers here and there.
Yeah.
And, we could definitely talk about a slushy barley wine milkshake.
and he would
Bastardization of beer. Yeah.
probably have an answer like, well, actually, like Penis Vagina Brewery in Indiana does a
Is a certified or master cicerone. What is he?
yeah.
How the heck does he get into those styles of beer? Advanced cicerone, yeah. It's crazy.
He's
to
a
me.
master in my mind.
Yeah. Yes. Third level. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Third level cicerone. I don't think that there is a correct. Where do the cicerones go down that path in order to get into those slushy beers? I just don't understand because it's definitely not something that's part of the book.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The Padawan level that is a good point.
Yeah.
Like, well, and I think, historical examples too, being a part of like what you have to do and write about. Like there isn't that many breweries, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I know what this is. This is one of the 2 breweries that are in my portfolio.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I know of only one brewery with a baby head as a tap handle.
That is. Oh, who is that?
It's Sig.
Oh, yes.
How'd that come about?
So Duncan, the owner that does concrete for a living, he makes amazing concrete tabletops, countertops, sinks. He did our cast-in place bar at the brewery. But yeah, whenever he does a customer pour and he has a little extra concrete left over, he's got these baby head molds sitting around his shop and he just fills them up. He was doing that for years, even before Sig's tap handles, I believe, of various sizes. And we decided that was going to be a cool tap handle, something unique, iconic in a way. We don't even... Oh, they are heavy. Yeah. We had to make them on the smallish size.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thanks, Duncan. Yeah. Yeah. We had to make them on the smaller size in order to make sure that they're not too heavy because we tested different sizes. But yeah. So
It's still going to crush your foot if you drop it.
Have you had experience with this?
Maybe I have.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's why I wear boots.
Steel-toed. Yep. Yeah. So the baby heads came about just because we had a bunch of them handy. He drilled holes in through little dowlings in them and turned them into some awesome little tap handles that there's plenty of accounts that don't even use tap handles at their places, but they will take one of them when you offer because they see how cool they are.
Yeah, they are super cool.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, we thought conceptually that was being like Nick and I, the deciders of what is badass for tap handles in the years of handle gathering. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, do you have a story, Jeff, that would possibly compete with dumping a full barrel onto carpet?
A few.
All right.
I don't know if they
top 2.
compete quite the same. Okay. Well, my first date with my now wife, Brittany, I was brewing a fresh hop beer that day, and our sales guy, Lionel, at the time, was driving to Yakima to pick up the hops, and, it was all going according to plan. He was leaving Yakima like at noon. So I was like, all right, great. I'm going to have the fresh hops here by 3. I can be done by 5 because, it takes a couple hours once they get there to finish up the process. And he must have taken like a visit of all the taco trucks in Yakima at the time because somehow or another, his 3 p.m. estimated arrival time turned into like 9 p.m. So Brittany was supposed to meet me at 7. And she ended up having to come to the brewery and help me finish brewing the batch of beer on our very first real date. And we didn't get out of there till like 10:30, 11. And we ended up hitting up a few breweries along the way. So a fuck up in a way, but a beautiful fuck up because it ended up turning into a love story. But yeah, that was, I was a little frustrated that day with Lionel. Love you, Lionel, if you're listening. But yeah, but it led to a fun brew day with a woman that I ended up just falling in love with. And yeah, but a fuck up in a way, but a love story.
I mean, it sounds like a great planned freaking, culling the herd. Is like, man, can't wait for do some fresh hop then.
That's true. Yeah.
And then helping and participating, like, oh, that's even better. Like,
fortunately, she worked at Narrows Brewing at the time, so
crafty,
she knew the beer side. So yeah, she knew that sometimes beers don't go according to plan because she had 5 or so years of experience working at Narrows at the time. So yeah, but yeah, that was the first one that came to mind. Another kind of embarrassing one sticking my tail between my legs was the first craft brewers conference that I ever went to. I believe it was in DC, and sitting through a conference about dry hopping techniques and hop creep. And this was all kind of newer stuff to the market. Hop creep was not supposed to be a thing a couple of years before, but now we're realizing it is. And I'm sitting there, second row, learning all these things. And as soon as the that particular speech was over, people get up and start talking amongst each other, and I start talking about with all my 2 years of experience, cryo hops, because I was one of the first people in Washington to use them because we got a special deal with YCH to be able to test them out. It was still the cryo powder at the time, not even pelletized hops. So I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of touting my experience with cryo hop powder and how difficult it is to use and all that. And then I look down and I see the two people that are right next to me listening to me, Vinny Ceruzzo, Russian River, and
heard of them?
Yeah, Brooklyn Brewing. Crap, what's his name?
Garrett Oliver.
Garrett Oliver.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're the ones that I'm telling about how to dry hop beers. And I'm sitting there like, that's like, they will learn absolutely fucking nothing from me because they know, like.
Maybe how to put your foot in your mouth.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Also, side question on that. Who's handsomer?
Between Vinny or Garrett or myself?
Yeah. Go ahead. Throw your hat in the ring.
Garrett. Garrett is
Garrett.
Yeah.
There was an actual right answer to that.
That is a well-dressed motherfucker.
Yeah, I was in an elevator with him, and it was like, oh, it's hot in here. I'll just fucking, say something cool, Sean. Like, nope. Shut the fuck up, Sean. Don't say anything.
Tell him about how to dry hop beers. He might learn something.
I'll tell him how elevators work.
Yeah.
So we're going down right now. That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Grit and Grainers. Email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and future Sig Brewing beer names that can rival their It's Always Sunny in Sigadelphia. There's always money in the snow cone stand. That one's brilliant. Candy Chug Jug. I'm on a note. Count Sigula. And Led Tasso. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as quickly as we can. If not online, then on air. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. And please leave us a review. Also, check us out on Channel 253 and gritandgrainpodcast.com. Woo! Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for episode notes, beer news, and opportunities to scream heartily into the void. To have the Lloyd book look back at you with some sort of jaded, sighing sadness and say, hey, enough with the yelling. Already, you can see we're trying to get some sleep here. What do you expect, some sort of prize or friggin' merit badge? Sorry, pal, everyone's teetering on the same ledge, and everyone's trying to get a grip on. And everyone wants to answer when it's all very simple. Just live deep and drink Sig Pilsner for Pilsners, and vice versa. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, please go away. We're just in the middle of a delicious little dream featuring Jeff Stokes and some soft, fluffy Neapolitan ice cream and hops and some very slippery lactose. Thank you very kindly. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. What do you call someone who steals sour beers from Sig Brewing? A smoothie criminal? No such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma. No such thing as too much barley wine. Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Channel 253 is a member-supported podcast network. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I'm asking you to become a member and show your support. Go to channel253.com/membership to join. Thank you. Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Interchangeable White Ladies, Move to Tacoma, Crossing Division, Citizen Tacoma, What Say You, We Are Tacoma, Flounders B Team, and Taco Man.
This is Channel 253.
Good up.